Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 386 of the Destiny Community Podcast. We have all of the Destiny community here. Every single one. Yep. All of them. Right? I saw that. Yeah, it's pretty crazy. It's a Charlemagne bot thing. So doesn't that take into consideration people who have like updated their profile or something? How does that work?
Stuff like that's not even unique players necessarily, but probably a good measure though. It's consistent.
Chat says we're muted, Watts.
Let's start again. Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 386 of the Destiny Community Podcast. There was a joke about this being the entirety of the Destiny community.
I made a great joke. It landed really well.
It was perfect.
I'm not gonna rehash.
We're not. Don't explain it. Don't rehash it. That would be.
Just everybody throw your heads back and give out a great guffaw.
Ha! Great.
So when Watts said we were muted before, we were really unmuted, then she's muted us.
Yes. Watts, we're gonna keep the muted section in for the show. Is that right?
Yeah.
Change the time code.
Yeah. Brian will figure it out. It's Brian's job. Ain't my problem.
It's in the time code. People will love it.
But we were talking about how over 1 million people played this week, according to Charlemagne.
That's a lot of people.
Well, I can believe it because I was looking at the Steam charts while I was in queue for 7 hours of my 13-hour stream, and we were at 314,000 on Steam at one point, which is only 2,000 behind the max that we have ever had in Destiny 2's history on Steam.
On PC Steam, yeah.
Yep.
Which was Lightfall last year. Yeah, I was tracking that
Mm-hmm.
record.
So
and
yeah,
I
you
predicted it was going to beat it, but then technical issues.
So
Probably.
Yeah, while that's a huge number, it's also like, can we say that means something really good? Because Lightfall did not get received well in spite of the numbers.
Lightfall was like their best-selling expansion, though, right?
True,
yeah, I mean, you got to remember that. Like, these are just Steam PC concurrent numbers. These are not unique players. These are not hours played. We have no data on money spent, and all I'm saying is, like, we don't know what Destiny 2's biggest success is so far. Mm-hmm. The campaign from Lightfall was critically received, but you guys may not know this, it was my most played because of all the quality of life. I was so much happier with all the affinity crap being thrown out, and like, I really enjoyed my time around Lightfall once I got out of, the Strand pickups.
But, I mean, this is crazy to think that they were obviously really concerned about final shape, right? Like, that's why they delayed it. Like, they were like, pre-orders were down, Lightfall was received terribly. Like, it was red alert, all stations, we need to make sure this is a banger. So the fact that they, classic Bungie, recovered in the last quarter, fucking started sinking some hoops, you know what I mean? Like,
you're not wrong.
Got everyone, release, what was it called? Into the Light. Got
Into the Light, we're like, this is pretty good.
This is pretty good, I'm back, baby.
And I will say, like, so far, this isn't a spoiler for the campaign, but it's being received very well from what I can see. People are really feeling good about this new campaign.
I am feeling great about the final shape. Obviously, I've completed the campaign. I've done a good amount of the post-campaign stuff, and it's all feeling great. It's feeling like the most cohesive expansion we've had. Like, everything feels like it all works together, and it's all explaining each other. It's not like a bunch of segregated parts of a campaign that then leads to a segregated raid and a segregated post-campaign. Mm-hmm. It's all very included, and we're getting a couple answers. We're getting some really cool reveals and some great characters. It's been great. And the art, oh my god, the art direction in the campaign is insane.
Mm-hmm. Pale Heart's gorgeous.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I felt more than ever with them coming, full circle, over the 10 years, which you'll see in the campaign, is like anybody can play it and feel like they understand what's at stake. And, that I've always pointed to is really important because it's, to me, Destiny 2 is a very convoluted story. And, you got a lot to keep up with. And that is in there for those who want it. But on a service level, you're like, oh, I get it. Everything's at stake. And here's some main characters. And, like, they sound really scared of things. And and it just comes across really well in the campaign in a way that I can't remember. Even with Witch Queen, I was trying to remember like if there was Witch Queen was good. It was great in a number of ways, but like this feels like a campaign that frankly had more time, which I think you're seeing. Lightfall, by all accounts, was a stopgap to give them more time, and I think we're seeing the results of if you don't release an expansion every year, you know, so to speak, and you buy more time, well, we'll be happy.
I have a lot of opinions on the comparison with Witch Queen, which are not actually. I think it's not as popular, but there is definitely people that see my side of thing. Like I think they're very different campaigns and different stories. I think like Final Shape. Obviously, it's not like Lightfall introduces a whole bunch of new problems and new lore and didn't explain it, right? But it's much more of a simple storyline with the emphasis on like character developments and getting the band back together and then, you know, shaping up for this final encounter. But like complexity wise and story wise, I think Witch Queen, you know, acknowledged decade old lore, Books of Sorrow stuff, gave you huge reveals, huge answers, open up the universe in that sense, I think, which is why that was like one of my favorites. But this is more of a, like an emotional, nostalgic journey, which, you know, Bungie's pretty good at doing as well.
I think the character writing is just probably some of the best they've done. Because
I'll give you that, yeah.
It feels like, you know, the characters that I'm along for the ride with, like the people I'm fighting this with, I actually feel like they're here with me and I feel some kind of connection to them instead of them being kind of this distant thing.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I like the whole...
When Cade...
Go on. I was just
going to say, when Cade first came in... Okay, you go, I go, you go, I go.
You know, I'm going.
What if you go at the same time? Go at the same time and we'll figure it out.
Along the lines of what Watts was saying, I like the whole like around the campfire vibe you've got with these characters. We're all sitting around trying to figure this out together. And it's kind of cozy and intimate.
Yeah. I mean, a big part of that is like the nostalgic train as well, right, with Cade. Did anyone find when Cade first came, like there were a couple lines when Cade first came back in, and I was like, oh no, they haven't got it right. Like this is too...
Dunno, mate. The error skipped it all for me. I didn't see any of it.
Oh, you missed it because of the service?
I missed the cutscene where you first meet Cade, which I was really sad about. Because I was like, this actually looks like it might be one of my favorite cutscenes.
Like, I didn't have that.
There are a couple of quips, and I was like, "Oh no! Like, have I grown up? Have I outgrown Cade's humor? Like, am I not going to connect with him again?" And then he kind of came back in full force. I was like, "Oh yeah, classic Cade. That was a pretty good one." But the first couple times, I was like, "Oh, I don't know."
Do you mean
I've moved on from Cade?
Do you think he didn't have jokes that were landing, or you just there were no jokes?
No, I didn't feel like the jokes were landing. Like,
you thought the Cade was
stuff,
cringe.
Like, yeah, honestly, I thought there was a couple cringes in there.
I'd have to go back and look at it. I felt in the beginning that he was being a little muted, and like they were warming up to the idea that like everything's at stake, and like he wasn't seemingly, to my recollection, cracking too much jokes. They were very almost like downplayed, and then later, I think you'll even know the part, like almost midway through, a little past that, there was like some obvious, like, okay, now he's gonna start joking around again.
Classic Cade.
So I don't know if that was by intent at all, or I don't remember the line. So,
yeah.
Gotta say,
what did you think of the Pale Heart, like the general area? Because because here's my thing with it. I'm actually only really kind of understanding the area post campaign. Like it's actually. I felt like because the environment changes so much, it's actually hard to get, and it's so big, it's actually hard to know where all these sections like link together.
I totally know what you mean.
Yeah. Like it's hard to get the scale of it when you do the campaign, because I do feel like it sort of bumps you from area to area. I don't really think you get that grandiose scale until you go back post campaign.
And that's one of the things that post-campaign does really well, is it takes you throughout the whole thing again, and you sort of get to go through it procedurally and kind of understand the scale of it, like you're saying, which does make it helps you understand the space better. But I personally, to answer your question, I love the Pale Heart. I think it's one of my favorite destinations we've had so far. And one of the reasons is because it feels like you're journeying through different biomes within one patrol space. You know, a
Yeah.
lot of times you think of like Europa. I liked Europa, but it's snow and more snow everywhere you go. You know what I mean? And here we go from these lush, beautiful landscapes to these barren deserts and rocky crags and mesas and then pyramidian architecture. It's just a full journey, and it makes it feel like it's its own isolated little free roam fantasy, gaming genre space. I loved it.
Yeah, I think if it's not a stretch to say, if you're familiar with Peter Jackson's The Lord of the Rings movie adaptations, it's basically that, how it rolls out from the Shire to, the Black Gates. It feels like, I haven't finished it yet. I'm doing that tonight, but doesn't it feel that way to you guys? I mean, you're going towards
Yeah,
the
that's
Eye of
Oh yeah, you're
Sauron,
like making your way towards the tower. Yeah,
and it
you
has
got
that layout yeah.
yeah, different biomes and that.
Yeah, I love it. When you first got that reveal, like right at the beginning of the campaign, and you enter. First of all, I love the fact, to go back a bit, I love the fact that we don't just immediately start in the Pale Heart and it's like a little cutscene and then you're in the Pale Heart. There is
Yeah.
actually a playable section of you going
And
through
it's
into the travel.
gorgeous.
It is. It's so
It
good.
is
Opening
amazingly
sequence,
beautiful.
so awesome.
But see, I don't get the point of that part.
It
Was
all
it fun?
all
It's to set the tone. It's ambiance. It's
it all
making
makes
you
you
feel like you're transitioning into something new and
Yeah,
magical.
exactly. It's all about like
Right.
immersion, right? Being immersed with the story and the journey of what you're doing.
What do you mean by
Because
that,
it was
though,
like
Mylan?
this
Because-
section is the paracausality of the witness, but then it was all like our memories. Then it was all like Oryx's starting gate, and then it was like the Cosmodrome, and
I think you highlight something important when you listen to folks' reactions, and partially speaking for myself here, but there's people who are like gameplay, and people who are story, and there's people like right in the middle, so to speak. And like, I'm curious, was this just not a fun opening sequence, or were you like, wait, I just like story wise and everything? You're like, well, what is
honestly, the word salad, I think it just kind of opened with like, oh, light, dark. This is the witness's paracausality of. And I
it about?
was
So some
like,
story
I
problem.
wasn't
don't know, I
listening.
feel
I
like
was
it-
watching.
I feel like it could have. I think that almost ruined it for me. I think it could have just told it through what was happening on the screen. Like, okay, like I know the general impression, which is like the Pale Heart is like our memories come to life. Like we are shaping the landscape, and I think that was his intention, right? Just to do that. But then they kind of added a bunch of additional dialogue that like threw me, and then I'm like over analyzing that. Like, is this important? Do I need to write this down? What's
Yeah.
going on? And it's like.
Yeah, because I was on that other side where I was like, oh, we're journeying into there first. And this is like this beautiful, twisted vision of journeying into the Pale Heart. And like, I'm only approaching it from gameplay. And I was like, honestly, yeah, like don't take this the wrong way, but when it ended and I dropped into the Pale Heart, I actually had a bunch of air let out thinking, oh no, we're just going to be roaming around on a sparrow. I had this moment of even sitting at that first campfire, I think it is, and being like, ooh, was that it? I'm kind of like, oh, but then as you see how it continues, and I still got to finish, I'm like, oh, good. It's still very linear in a lot of ways for the campaign, which for me is what I was seeking, but everybody's different, obviously.
What's next?
Yeah, so
Yeah,
just so people know, Fran hasn't finished the campaign. So what our kind of plan is at the moment is as we go through and start getting towards the latter part, there will be like full spoilers in there. Fran will not be listening because he wants to experience it for himself. So be prepared. I'll also give you a heads up about all of you listening that we're about to do spoiler stuff.
Yeah, and as a benefit to all, we're on YouTube, at least we have time code, so I'm labeling it no spoiler, reactions, this. But then you'll see this is spoiler section, and then we'll come out of it. We'll label that tag again that it's over, and so you'll be able to sort of guide yourself through it. If you're watching on YouTube, at least for that time code.
I don't get it. I mean, it's been out for like 2 days now.
Yeah.
If you haven't finished it yet, like, are you gonna finish it at all? Like, I don't know. I question your
Yeah, if
commitment.
you wanted to, you would, right?
Well, I even play. I mean, just screw the last 10 years of playing the game. Like, you failed.
Yeah, if you haven't got annual leave and like rejected your family, what are you doing with yourself?
Yeah,
Go
why
to
are you
last
even here?
expansion. Other non-spoily thoughts.
Prismatic.
Yeah, we can talk about Prismatic.
There's Prismatic. There's new exotics.
Prismatics,
We've got lots of
I
stuff we
use-
can talk about.
Yeah, there's lots
I use
of
Pris-
no spoilers. Sure.
I used Prismatic the entire time.
Me too.
From start to finish, felt a lot better than Lightfall, just with how it unlocks and how powerful it was from the get-go. Didn't feel disadvantaged as a Titan anyway. I don't know what the other
Warlock.
non-important classes
Now as a
feel
hunter.
like, but
Well, I gotta say, my playing through this campaign specifically as a hunter felt really, really good. There's a lot of additional dialogue you get as a hunter because you're obviously it's Cade and Crow, so it's 2 hunters. So I bet they're like, oh, the 3 best hunters, and then there's also a quest later where you talk to Cade and he says extra way more to you if you're a hunter. So it felt like I was this band of hunter brothers running
Does
around
he
together.
tell you that he wants you to be the next Vanguard in his place for the hunters?
Kinda,
'Cause he should.
kinda,
Kinda.
kinda.
you're the best. So
Yeah.
yeah, because I did have people come into chat and some people were saying like, "Oh, it sucks to be X class using Prismatic," but you guys didn't
Yeah.
find that. Like, you'll
Oh,
Yeah,
man.
somebody came in my chat
No.
and said Titan's got a raw deal with the initial kit, and I was like, really?
Idiot.
Mylan-
I've heard a
call me an
lot
idiot?
of people
So
say
yeah,
that.
Titan's busted.
So
Titan's
maybe you're
really
just
good.
bad. Maybe you're
Mylan
bad.
was confused by that comment, so you can see the subjective nature of that, right?
So
Yeah,
I.
so the Titans,
No, go ahead.
the Titan's grenade suspends enemies, but then they become like a Tesla tower and they just jolt everything around them.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's
like
pretty cool.
suspends like crazy strong altogether, and then you add jolt on it. Like, it's good.
And then Warlocks, you get, like, right out of the gate, you pretty much get the Helion turret, which is the mortar cannon, the solar buddy that shoots over your shoulder.
Oh, right.
And you
right.
get Bleak Watcher. So you throw out a Bleak Watcher turret, it freezes everything, and then you're launching mortar strikes in, shattering it all. And it's super cool. And then you're like, you know what? I just want to shock some stuff too. Let me throw on the Getaway Artist, and then you've got a powerful arc turret and your Helion turret simultaneously. It's pretty wild.
I went into the campaign kind of thinking about what would be an easy thing to switch to in terms of I go from this build at the beginning and then I switched to Prismatic, and I went with and I think a lot of hunters did this, but I went with a Duskfield stasis build initially using the gauntlets, and that was super easy because I was able to just put on Prismatic and I'm good because it starts with Duskfield grenades, you get all of the frost armor, all of that good stuff. I loved it because everything that you do makes you invisible. If you hit something with stasis, strand debuff, any debuff at all, you're invisible. So you're invisible all the time. So I found that it was great.
Watts,
Did you find the grenade?
So I like the grenade. I know some people are struggling with it, but I'll just say you just have to attach it to them.
Yeah.
If you want it to stay with them, you just attach the prismatic grenade to them, and then you're
Yeah.
good.
Yeah, I haven't figured out. I haven't looked at the damage close enough to know if it's. It seems like it melts them though. I went through the same thing. I was like throwing it at their feet, and then there's so much roaming now in the game, and then I'm like trying to attach it to a wall where they might go, and then I was like, wait, I'm just gonna chuck it on them.
Yeah.
And it seems like it is nuking them for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, it does a lot because it does the stasis, so it will like freeze them, and then it does the solar, which will then blow up all of the stasis stuff, scorch them, and then you just see them all of a sudden just exploding over and over and over again.
Yeah.
It
Yeah,
feels
so
great.
I was using Thunder T-Crash Titan, and I can see people in chat saying the same thing. There's like literally no point for me to run like Arc now. Like Prismatic
Yeah.
Thunder Crash Titan is just great because you kind of have your DPS super, and then you have like your mini super, which is like your Prismatic, right? Like it's kind of like it's not a full super, but like you have a lot of grenades and melees and ad clear, so it's like really good. It's really fun.
You talk about how Hunter had all the uptime on Invis. With Warlocks, you get that same effect on Devour now because you have that Helion turret as it's blowing stuff up, activates Devour. Any ability at all is just going to queue up Devour, which is super cool because previously with the Void kit, I mean, you don't have a lot of like killing power with your abilities, like your Pocket Singularity, not really something everyone's running out there with Pocket Singularities for ad clearing, and your Void Soul just kind of tickles bigger targets. So now you've got things that are out there actively blowing stuff up for you, and it just automatically full uptime for Devour. Super good.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and Watts, by the way, I know you were kind of doing some sound checks. Do you need me to do anything on my end, or are we all right?
Yeah, I'll boost you all the way up.
Okay,
We'll see
cool.
how that goes.
Yeah, I don't know if we were having a sound problem, but
There we go.
all good. I'm just gonna keep
looks good now.
talking. My reaction, by the way, was I think in a very good way. I actually started with like a strand, glaive, the Vex caliber, a hatchling sword. I very much with the new Triton exotics, I wanted to go in with something that I've not used and make myself feel uncomfortable. What I always like about campaigns and new starts is that. So
Yeah.
if people ever watch me play, like it's very often like, you know, they're going to be like, why aren't you just going to use Galhorn? I'm like, because I don't want to. Like, I like the, I'm not trying to make it more difficult on myself so much as like, I like to just kind of approach it with a fresh view. And there should
Sometimes
be some
optimization can be boring.
Yeah, well, we've also been playing this for 10 years. Like, if you think I'm going to pop a Galahorn in the final shape, you are sorely mistaken until I've been there for a few hours. And it almost came down to it last night. You all know the room I'm talking about. But anyway, so I thought that was a good sign. But then it throws you in with, like, on a hunter, you're going to have to sort of start with solar or stasis. And that was, again, something I've been a void hunter for so long that I was very glad to, again, not just go back to my old ways. So that being said, I had some sort of like initial, like, I mostly just felt like I was playing stasis with like a different super, like with Golden Gun, and I kind of mixed it up, but it wasn't feeling great. Not in a bad way though. I thought that was a good thing again. And then when I finally got, you know, a void upgrade and weaken smoke nades in particular, I was like, oh, now I created a build around it, took that moment after spending whatever that was, 5 or 6 hours with it. And I felt that increase in power. And so anyway, I'm liking how it all rolls out. I personally do feel starved for those other fragments and aspects. I'm like, man, and I'm forcing myself to play Prismatic. Sorry, I wanted to make that point, which is like, to beat things, I definitely felt a lot of times like, I'm just going to go full Invis Hunter right now and get this over with. But I'm like, no. But I wouldn't. I felt like...
No, it's just interesting that you felt that way, because I felt like it was so powerful.
It could be the weapons, right? Because again, like I'm using like there's a lot of glaives still, like swords, you know, stuff that is making it more challenging. Not like super high DPS weapons, maybe, but anyway, I kind of wanted it to feel that way, and it's been fun.
I've played a little bit of Hunter because I had a Bungie sponsorship, so I had to replay the campaign with someone who doesn't play Destiny. So I started on the Hunter, and as someone who doesn't play Hunter often, I definitely struggled with not having the like dodge invis. Like it took a while for me to like, I gotta like debuff stuff and wait for the invis rather than just like running in there and then like using invis to just get like dodge invis and get out of trouble. But that's kind of cool. It was kind of fun though. It was still good to use, but it was definitely, as a casual hunter, I usually just like crouch heavily on just dodge to get your invis and then get out of trouble, right?
Yeah,
So,
I ended up
different strategy.
So I really like how they introduced Prismatic. I think they did a very good job of giving you a build that was quite obvious of how they want you to use it initially, and you could get set up and kind of just go, as long as if you have knowledge of the class, because you kind of have to know everything about it, right? But yeah, I thought they did a great job with that. I literally just switched Prismatic and I was good to go. I also ended up using Ascension, which is the new Hunter swirl in the air helicopter aspect. I ended up using that throughout the whole campaign as well, because what I found was a really cool combo is you could throw down like the Dustfield grenade. And if you're using the exotic arms, you have the little icicle that comes in up in the middle. And then you could do your little twirl. It would shatter all of that. So everything would get shattered with stasis. Everything would be jolted. I'm amplified. I'm also invisible, because if you kill anything with that, it makes you invisible. So I found that I actually really liked it during the campaign. It was crazy ad clear. It's pretty good for damage as well, because you get to have all those things stacked on them.
Did you add on the artifact mod that makes it so that when you're amplified, you have DR?
I did. Yeah, I did. So I'm running around amplified with frost armor, because Dustfield grenade and with the exotic gives you a ton of frost armor. So yeah, it felt great. And then I could just throw my withering blade to go invisible. And I was using if I needed to get that back right away, I could just dodge and get it back. Easy invis. And you have 2 of them. So yeah, it was great.
Yeah, it's really interesting to hear. And I think Prismatic, that's like the natural side effect from. There's so many different ways to use it. And so I love hearing about it. Yeah. I've been playing it more slowly, I think, even because of that. So meaning I'm glad I'm not rushing through it because I want to kind of take the time to like change my build, which I know, makes people a little nervous as we head into the raid, but I'm not worried about it. And I like, to me, that's been really enjoyable part of Prismatic. But I was gonna say, yeah, I landed on right now. It's funny to hear you talking about Watts, how you approached your hunter. I landed on, the Void Weaken nades, and using like Gambor's dodge to reload them, which is what I used to do with stasis, right? I'd be constantly chucking those shurikens, but now it's like a smoke nade. And I'm like, I toss it down, it weakens them, they explode, and you go invis to get out of there, and then you get back your smoke. So I go and I've got my class ability refilling so fast that I literally am just dodge smoking and exploding groups of enemies with like not even touching them on a legend campaign, which is pretty wild. So some of that side effect, it feels surprising, because we haven't got to do something like that. I mean, not quite the way that like everything comes together with. I'm also using stasis as my weapon build on top of it. So I'm like slowing, and there's a slow burst in the artifact, and it feels really refreshing and explosive, which I think once you get into the campaign, we are at that power creep stage. They are like, oh yeah, you have a lot of power, but you have a lot of enemies, and they're everywhere.
How do you guys find the difficulty on? Everyone's been doing Legend solo.
Yeah. So I think
this is a 50-50. I've found people on both sides of this. Yeah.
I've heard people saying way too hard, way too easy. It's like all over the place for this one. I think the campaign is in a really good spot. And I say that because in Lightfall, I think there were some encounters in Lightfall that were not the best of Bungie's work when it comes to making a difficult encounter. Some things that come to mind are when you're fighting the Tormentor and you're given Strand and you're on that island. Like, that didn't feel like a fun difficulty. I was just like, what is going on? So I found that this campaign just felt like it was in a really good spot. If I died, it's because I messed up. I did something wrong. And it feels manageable while still being able to have some fun with new stuff and not get immediately penalized for doing so. So I'm personally pretty happy with where this legendary campaign is.
I felt it was easier. Like, I think I could have been maybe a little bit harder. And because I've been playing it again as a duo because it scales.
As a Titan
no, as a hunter. So I'm on,
you switch
interestingly,
for the second.
I'm playing it again as a hunter with a new Destiny player, and it actually feels a bit closer to what I would like for like difficulty level, probably because I'm with a new player on a class I'm not familiar with, and it's it gets scaled for that. I didn't think it was harder than Witch Queen. I felt Witch Queen probably I failed more encounters more often. It's not necessarily a bad thing at all. I don't think in my like book I didn't find it harder than Witcher, and especially the final boss was cool, but I didn't spend as much time on it as previous expansions.
Mylon, you just nailed it for me, which is like I thought Witch Queen was tough, and it had its moments, but for me, again, it's so dependent on what you're using, and if you want to pull out the Thunderlord or whatever it is that's powerful, and there's no right or wrong, but like, I'm out there with like a Vex Caliber and a Slammer sword, like trying to get up close, and like I'm having fun, but anyway, I think very dependent on your loadout, where you land. I think some people just went in as well with some really good builds, and it's going to be very dependent on that. I think it's a good thing, but I do feel like this absolutely has been balanced to be a more oppressive solo Legend experience. I can't speak to multiplayer, and I say that because of the amount of enemies and tracking shots and things coming at you. It's a lot. For solo, like I feel like you have no relief because the aggro's on you.
They want you to use Prismatic, basically. Every time there's like a huge cluster of enemies, they pretty much want you to pop off with Prismatic and like basically keep your uptime of Prismatic there. Just be spamming nades and spamming melee.
Yeah, and the last quick point I'd make on that, and Watts hit on it as well there, I think, which is like using Prismatic and all that is like so powerful that or no, sorry, she said what I wanted to point out. She said when I died, I felt like it was my fault. And yeah, as I was streaming, I was really like, that's on me. I kept saying this is a skill issue. And the point I kept making, and see if you guys felt this way, there's so much power on the table with Prismatic, especially like those wells and stuff when they pop, that it was kind of was on you to be like, you should just pop, you know, Transcendence, that is. And it's like a lot of power that you can build if you want to.
I found the encounters got progressively better, and to the point of them, and we don't want to say too much because Fran hasn't played it yet, but to be honest, I actually found the first third of the campaign a little bit slow and just kind of like standard Destiny. And then I found like the second, third, and the last part, like I was like, okay, these are like encounters I would expect from like a final expansion. This is like
I agree.
as close as you could get to like a dungeon without being an actual dungeon, and it also being a set piece. Like it was a set piece, it was an encounter, it had all the feels, it had the music, it had everything kind of going for it. I found the campaign a little bit slow to get going, but that was also probably a server issue too when you like replayed mission 1 5 times because it crashed.
Right.
I didn't have to go through any of that.
Yeah. But the mechanics get really cool for sure later on, I think.
Yeah.
I actually wish it was more consistent. I wish that kind of happened a bit earlier. And I wish there was a bit more of it too, because I kind of felt like they really started to hit their stride. I was like, oh man, this is sweet. And then it was kind of over. I was like, damn
it kind of gets even better post-campaign because there's some like exotic quests, like the microcosm that take you back through, and then it introduces new mechanics, like the whole mechanic with the witnesses oppressing you, and then you have to like you're gathering those stacks of oppression, you have to like hand them off to somebody else. It's really fun stuff, and it kind of changes up those encounters even more. And then there's also other new mechanics they toss into those missions, so you go back into it thinking, already I've been there, done that. So you're like, oh, this will be easy, we'll knock this out again. Then you're like, whoa, what else is going on here? This is some new stuff. Okay,
they're getting you ready for the raid. You know, I felt that throughout the campaign. I was like, well, that's going to be a mechanic. And that sounds even more so the case of like adding those new mechanics too.
Yeah, I was trying to remember that with previous campaigns. I've had the same feeling as like they are using the campaign to prepare you both for, you know, probably a future dungeon, but especially the raid. And I was like, did they do a little bit of that previously? I think they did in Lightfall. I just couldn't remember what it was. But some very light previous. But yeah, I feel it heavily in this one. I think, yeah, like that's a good thing. You can play the campaign solo and enjoy these like raid-like mechanics and be introduced to it. I think that felt very intentional here. And yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing some newer stuff. Like I did feel like, you know, there was like slightly new stuff, but like it's gambit motes and plates and stuff. So I'm curious to get past. I mean, I'm 70% into the campaign. So
I don't know. I don't know if you've seen the. I think when you say the stuff, you're like, I get what you're saying now.
That's great to hear. Which is funny because like we've had several shows now. I keep saying I'm really looking to not, you know, throw balls and stand on plates as a primary mechanic. So it's even then it's been good with the way they've rolled out a lot of those puzzles, if you will. Like it's familiar, but it still feels good. It doesn't feel like boring or tired or anything. It's just I'm hoping to see even more new mechanics.
What did you think of the new enemies?
The Dread.
I think they're cool. I think their animation work is very good. Like that, it looks like, you know, newer animations, which I really like. I think, like we said before, like before Final Shape came out and we were talking about new enemies, I was like, the Scions they're Scions. They've just been added like a little extra thing onto them. So that's why initially I said to you guys that I wouldn't be surprised if maybe this was something that was done a little bit later when they knew a delay was coming, because they already have Scions and they just give them like one new ability. Not saying that any of that is easy, just saying that like, guys, well, we have to let's flesh out, you know, the Dread. Let's make them like a lot more of a new race.
See, I'm kind of like in the middle with the Dread. Like, I don't think they're not like a massive highlight for me of like it's nice to have them. They weren't bad, but they weren't like the best thing that happened, you know, in the final shape either. I also think that the rocket sidearm just one tapping the flying Zubats was like, I never saw them because they were just dead the whole time. Like so.
Yeah.
But you
I
wouldn't want them to
felt
be annoying either. I don't know. I can see them being a really good in the raid encounters with their abilities, like the mix of the stasis and the strand. I could see that being like uber tough and uber annoying.
You know what's
in
gonna
the raid.
happen, Mylan? I saw a
What?
snippet of this in that trip mine room. They're gonna have
Yeah.
crap all over the place, and they're gonna try and grab you and pull you into it.
Yeah.
And then you're gonna have the
But jokes on that.
Zubats.
I'm a Titan. I want that to happen. Thank you.
And then you have the Zubats. There's going to be a jumping puzzle, and there's going to be 100 of them screaming at you.
I was gonna say that's already a thing.
It is,
Like
yeah.
I felt my first time through the campaign, I was like, Dread are just kind of like, you shoot them and they die. It's just like every other combatant in the game. It's just a matter of where do I shoot them. I didn't really feel like they really changed up the whole totality of the experience too much. But it's the post-campaign grind where I'm really starting to feel their power, and you know, as things get ramped up in terms of difficulty, and specifically with the Zubats, there's a couple of sections there where you're replaying these missions on harder difficulties, and you've got to get from point A to point B quickly.
Right.
And
yep.
there's some you got to do some platforming, and it is time sensitive. And I had this today. I was playing with a couple of buddies, and Hobie's in front of us. He jumps to the next platform, and then me and Jingleheimer jump up, and we get screeched at mid jump and just fall. Both of us looking at each other like, ah, you know.
Yeah, and you're
death.
screwed. You're done
You're
when they
screwed.
scream at you. Nothing you can do.
And we just kind of had to laugh about it, you know. I do like the subjugators. I think that their whole vibe is really cool when they enter a room and they politely bow to you, and I just like their whole vibe.
Their whole vibe is very cool. I love the sound when any of those guys enter, the tormentors or them, the like screeching kind of.
Yeah.
Like, who is it this time?
Are the subjugators, the strand wand wizards?
They're sort of mini Rolks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
Yeah,
they
they're
do
cool.
be kicking you. They do be.
Well, and then they on legend difficulty they can do the one-shot kill with it looks sort of like a strand version of the wyvern attack where all the projectiles converge on you.
Yeah, that's nasty.
And if they all catch you in the open, you're donezo.
Dude, there was like one moment where I think I got slowed by an enemy, suppressed. I had like I don't know if it was trip. There was something on the field, and then the stasis one had ice all around me.
And the shatter damage is huge.
Oh my god, it's crazy.
Yeah.
They shatter it and it's just it's like, oh great. Yeah, that hurts.
There's
Okay.
definitely a couple of moments where I've looked around, I've been slowed, I'm like, well, this is the end.
yeah.
Like, I'm done.
Yeah, I think the dread feel great. It occurred to me more than ever, and I think because of power creep and just where the game design has gone, that there's so much about avoiding these powers, right? And so they all have these powers to be avoided, and it's a lot less like maybe how we thought of it in 2014 when it launched. It was like, well, I gotta kill this enemy and shoot it in the head and, you know, shoot it in the weak spot. And there is some of that, but it's so much about do not get in the way of this happening. You're gonna get suspended. You're gonna get strand this or that. You're gonna get suppressed by the scream. And when it happens, it feels formidable and powerful. And so I think, you know, to that end, like they can feel like, well, it's just enemies with powers we know of. And I think there's an easy way to react to that and be like, yeah, it feels like new, but maybe not new enough. At the same time, because it's familiar, you're kind of scared of those things because you know what they do. And so there's a little bit of both. I would have liked to see a bunch of new powers and brand new enemies and stuff, but I think like that, you see how it all comes together with Prismatic, that it probably was the right choice. So I'm happy that they, you know, the word I have used a couple times now, formidable, and I think it's very fitting for them. And I love their medieval, RPG kind of vibe that they've got going.
Yeah. I can see that the Husk guys are probably going to be really annoying in harder difficulties.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. They were the worst, the Husk dudes, the little bombers that run
Blame
at you.
Holtzman. That's Holtz right
That's
there.
the Holtz thing right there, yeah.
He also, there is a part
Husky.
like post-campaign. You guys will know what I mean, but I will. Obviously, I'm not saying it in a spoiler way. There's a dog later in a post-campaign quest That is also
Another
Holtzman.
Archie?
That's Holtzman's doggy.
Ah,
Yep.
Holtz pup.
Yep.
Just having a look at the list of stuff here that we can talk about before we get to spoiler area.
Did
Exotic
you guys get to
weapon.
play around with any of the new exotics, weapons or armor?
Yes.
I haven't. So I was sitting there for a while. I was like, which armor do I pick? Now we know which armor is coming, so this isn't super spoilery. But Hunter's got to pick between the threaded Spectre pants and the arc twirly chest thing. I did go with the pants. It was 1 stat point higher. Honestly, I'd be happy to use both. Although I'm now feeling very thankful I didn't pick the arc chest piece because I will not be able to use it in the raid. So I have plenty of time.
Oh, they disabled it.
They disabled Ascension. They disabled Ascension, which is the
Oh, that's the
hunter
aspect,
that you do
Right.
helicopter in the air. And I saw for myself why. Small tangent. I saw for myself why this was. There is an artifact mod that when you get, what was it, melee kills, it gives you sword ammo or something like that, essentially allowing you to have infinite sword ammo. So what I noticed, so I have a Traveler Blessing where when I kill things with something, a void special weapon, it shoots balls. I saw when I kill something with an energy void weapon, keep that in mind. Then when I did Ascension, holding my void special weapon, and it did the same thing. So I was like, oh, I was like, oh, I am seeing the problem here. It's counting Ascension as like whatever you're holding, maybe
As an
I don't know.
extension of whatever you have equipped at the
Yeah,
moment.
that's what it feels like.
Okay.
Interesting.
Which makes me really sad because like 4 of my builds are using Ascension, but whatever.
Sure,
Yeah.
sure. Sucks not be
fine.
able to use your new thing. That's too
fine.
bad. I've been playing around with the what's it called, the Mataiodoxia. It's the chess piece for the
Oh,
warlocks.
yes. How is that?
So
Very curious.
it's actually really good, both in PvP and in PvE. So in PvE, like anytime you get a final blow with the Arcane Needle, which is just in your red bar, right? Throw an Arcane Needle out there. You got 3 charges. Anytime you kill something with that, they're gonna blow up in a suspension detonation that has a pretty wide AOE. So you can make a whole group of ads. Whole group of ads goes up in the air. And then, like, if you're running, like, I switched to run off of Prismatic specifically so I could run full Broodweaver because they also have the aspect that makes it so that you have tangles. If you create a tangle, you can detonate those for more suspension. So you basically chain suspension. So you go Arcane Needle, suspends everything, kill them, there's a tangle left behind. Grab the tangle, throw it at the next mob, they all get suspended, throw an Arcane Needle. You just sort of continue that loop, and so it's just a ton of suspension. It works in PvP as well. So I had a guy in a Well of Radiance pop it down in front of me, like, haha, come at me, bro. And I was like, I've got 3 charges, bro. 1, 2, 3 Arcane Needles, and he just floats up into the air out of his well, like, somebody help.
That's funny.
So it is very good. I've had lots of multi-kills with people bunching up in corridors. You just throw 3 down the hallway real quick. They all go up in the air, shoot the tangle, everybody's dead. It's fun.
That sounds really fun. I haven't. I think that the Hunter Pants probably will be a PvP based exotic. If you guys don't know what it does, it's
I hate Threaded Spectre.
Yeah,
I love Hunter, but I hate Threaded Spectre so much.
Threaded Spectre, but it makes the Threaded Spectre more tanky, and it makes them have more threadlings when it gets destroyed. So there's more thread, and also when you're near it, you are off the radar. So.
Okay, near, by the way, is 20 meters. You're going to be on the other side of the friggin' map, basically, and it's like, yeah, you're good, man. You're not on the radar.
You're close enough. Yeah.
I hate them.
I love Strand, though.
I'm pretty much doing like a
it'd be fun for
Strand
both.
Prismatic build. No, I'm pretty much like using all, just because I wanted to mess around. Wanted to mess around with some Strand stuff because I just got all of that unlocked for Prismatic.
I've been using the Titan chest piece that fires rockets when you use your ability.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so cool.
Yeah, and I've been using it with thruster, so I haven't even put in just like dodging around, and then it just shoots rockets at your back.
You can also add in the shoot. I'm spaced on the name of it. Something lash. It's the aspect that sends out the suspension wave.
Yeah.
So you can do the thruster, sends out the suspension wave, launches rockets at the person that gets suspended. It's kind of nutty.
Well, yeah, I've been with Prismatic, you get the ice lance, whatever it is. That's like really strong at the moment. You can basically chain like tangles and ice lances together. So you just like freeze them and they're frozen, and then I've just been like firing my rockets by like dodging. It's very cool. It looks really cool too.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah, just dead. Yeah.
I'll be honest, like Bungie, you just popped off. I don't know what else to say. Everything's great. Music's been great. Art direction was great. I think the writing has been good. The character interactions, post-campaign feels great. I've never been so hyped for a raid coming off of a campaign in my life. That's spoilers. I won't talk about why. But yeah.
Yeah, actually, maybe before you guys break into spoilers,
let's hear your hot takes, Fran.
No. Actually, the question to you is a hypothetical, and I'm curious how you feel about. On one side, meaning it's hard to not be hyped. I think after 10 years and them coming full circle, but let's say it took all this extra time, right? It took delays. It took, let's call it, assume that it's a stopgap a bit for Lightfall, but. In other words, if it's going to take a year and a half or two for another expansion and seasons are now episodes and things slow down, are you cool with that? Or are you like worried that there's not enough to play between stuff?
I would prefer they have longer between expansions so that they can do this. Because, Fran, I got to say, you were wrong about the CG cutscenes. You remember what you said?
Sort
Do you
of.
remember? You're only like halfway through.
Yeah, I guess, we'll see. But I have been pleasantly surprised they've used not only some of what we saw, but
they don't end when the campaign's over either.
Yeah, for context, Fran was like, I'm sure, would you think we're going to get any more CG cutscenes in the campaign? Sure, like, this is most of it, the marketing stuff. Well, looky here.
Yeah, I didn't say. Look, I was absolutely wrong. I did not say we were not getting any more cutscenes. I was saying temper your expectations. But everybody last week, all they could hear from me is Fran is a bummer because, I didn't want the raid to come out and have to play 25 hours. Just. To
Fran, you're gonna think you're wrong about that too.
Let's not detract from the question at hand. So, are you worried about playing between stuff? Watts sounds like you said no. Like
I'd be very happy if this is what we get. Like this is like a step up from pretty much all other campaigns in terms of cohesion and the CG, the cutscenes that we get that are beautiful, and like I just think it's a step up in production value.
And I also think, to be honest, the Destiny player base would be more healthy if they took time away from the game, and when every time they came back, it was a good experience.
Wrong.
Yes.
You're an Alex TV. Look at you. You've got alcohol in your shelf.
I can stop anytime, whenever I want.
See, this is what I do. It's not always just about the one line. You want to mix things up. Wait, Mylan, you're on board.
Yeah.
TV? You're not? You think you're worried about?
No. I'm totally cool. Like, take your time with expansions. Put them out when they're good, when you're ready.
But with the time between too, though, like
as long as the time in between has active support, then that's fine.
So what if it's what I'm getting at though? If it's the same or less as the seasons we've got over the last few years to get here, it's not going to get better.
The model to me is not all that exciting or dynamic. You just get a whole new suite of new weapons we can craft, and it's just reinventing the wheel over and over again. It's like, what do I care?
So you're not as worried about playing between if it results in like, call it this couple months every year and a half or two of like, that was awesome.
Yeah, that's fine with me because I'm mostly a PvP guy anyways. Like, so for me, the only time I'm really engaging with the PvE content at a deep level is when it's these major releases.
And it feels good, doesn't it, TV?
And I love it. And I live in PvE for a couple of weeks, and it's cool and it's great. And I do all these exotic missions, and then I knock out all my raids. And it tapers off after that, and then I just go play PvP a bunch, try new builds, use these guns. So it's whatever.
Yeah.
I think like my hope is that episodes, cool stories set within the Destiny universe, that you can take a break from Destiny, come in, hear a cool story, get some cool loot, and then have a healthier relationship with the game rather than a fear of missing out and feel like you constantly have to be getting. I know that's probably not what Destiny players want, but I don't know.
Hey,
I
if you
hope
can,
that
man, if you
the
can log in
cadence-
though, and you're like, dang, like everything is so good, I feel like that's better, right? Than being like, you know, I'm having fun, I guess. It's
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah, I would rather just regular good experiences for, a short period of time when a new release comes out than like doing the same thing for a
Right.
long period of time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we've
I
been
think,
doing it for 10 years now. So like, I don't
Yeah.
know. I feel like we can have a change.
yeah. And again, I think it's super important to have a healthy player base and stuff to log into, for the next year, let's call it, or year and a half or whatever. But at the pace I think they were going, I feel like there was this tiredness from the devs themselves. And we're seeing the result of we need more time. And you're even seeing, more money with the cutscenes and all that. And like,
And letting the
man, it
devs
is-
cook. Like the execs
Yes,
having
let
to be
them-
like, okay,
Yes.
you know, people are mad, you do your thing.
That's
Please,
exactly it.
can all people who are in positions of power, can you just trust the people who you hire to do the thing that you hired them for? Otherwise, what's the point? What are you doing?
Yeah, I think it's that in addition though to the cost, and they're in this weird spot of like long ago they said, look, 167 million people total have played Destiny over the years. That was up to like 2019, 2020 or something.
Pretty
But
crazy.
now if they've got, I don't know if they have 5-10 million unique players across the year. I have no idea, but they don't release that. But again, there's a revenue factor to let them cook at the level we're seeing. But we need to put that aside as fans, I'm saying, and I'm just that's what I was asking you. It was like, what would be your dream? I've always been, I don't want to play it nonstop. I do want a couple dungeons a year, that's great. I could even live without that though, if it meant, getting this quality. So that's all I was getting at is I don't think we can speak for everyone because some people
Right.
literally, they do want to play this 20 hours a week,
They
40
do,
hours a
yeah,
week for
it's
the
all they
rest of the
play.
year. That's what people in WoW do and I get that. But I think we've seen the great cost of it between, Forsaken, between Taken King even, between now Witch Queen. It feels like a pattern. And so I'd rather just wait. That's what I'm saying.
I would like
All
to
I've
get.
learned-
No, go ahead.
I was just saying, all that I've learned is when the community complains the loudest, we immediately get the best content after that. So
Must have
I'm
been
gonna
that.
need
Yeah.
Destiny community keep bringing that same energy every year. Maybe we'll
Sony's
get
standing
content like this
over
more
them.
regularly.
Correction. It's not when we complain the loudest. This is the plot twist. Is when we don't complain anymore.
It's true,
And we've
yeah.
left.
Yep. You're
So-
not wrong.
Just to be
Apathy.
clear, chat, because Fran was a huge bummer last week after 10 years of hype.
You were
Look,
stinking
though,
up the place.
No, but Bungie responded. And so we're saying that you're right. We needed that. And Bungie, hey, had we a week, doom, they solved it.
I would like to hear Fran's thoughts on the raid 3 days post campaign coming out, because we kind of talked about it a little bit last week.
Oh,
And
no.
we were talking about why we think it is, and you were very much in like the kind of marketing side, and we were like, oh well, the raid's connected to the story and there's story stuff post raid, so you probably just don't want people waiting 2 weeks to see more of the story. How are you feeling?
Yeah, I honestly, I do still feel bummed about it. I don't see the difference between waiting 72 hours versus 10 days or, to me, it's waiting. You do this in our favorite shows, be it Game of Thrones or whatever. And so like from a story side, I don't see the like, we can't wait, but everybody's different. What I do look at though, is the demand, like we're chill rating Watts and like you're out there playing 20 plus hours or whatever. I'm going to be doing the same.
Because I want to
Just-
be able to see the raid, right? Like, and if I don't prepare properly, I'm not going to see the raid.
Right. You're left no choice. And so again, there's no right or wrong here. I'm just responding. Like me, I would have loved to like to even be in the campaign and be thinking about, you need to get this done. You need to move. You need to get the exotic quest. So like that's where I'm coming from. And I'm not even
I get that.
someone who has kids and a full-time job. And I've always raise my hand for
Well,
those
that's your
folks.
problem.
And then,
Have a couple
What's your
kids.
excuse, friend?
Have a
Yeah.
couple
I've
of
got
kids, and
6
you will be
kids,
like, I
3
can't
dogs,
wait to
4
go
consoles.
get.
And so I just hope the community understands that part, which is like the hype of 10 years. I've been playing alongside you guys. There's many who've played way more than me. And they're like, give it to me, put it in my veins. I don't want to wait. That's going to like sour things for me. And I'm on the other side saying, I think we can meet in the middle. I feel for folks who don't have the amount of time and they feel pressured to get there. And then the last thing I'll say is like, I still have not heard any good reason why there's a 48-hour lockdown on contest mode when the raid is over in 6 to 7 hours and the top 10 are in probably. Whenever that is, it's usually been less than, let's call it 8 hours. Unlock the normal mode so we can enjoy the raid and not just get stuck on the second encounter. That's the other thing. So we'll see next week how I feel, but the story, it doesn't really change things for me.
Yeah, we'll see.
Seemingly. Yeah.
We will see.
We'll see once I beat it if I keep this tune. So you can mark this one down too.
Yeah, we'll see. I think everyone everyone was like, oh.
You know what it is? And we'll see. I think I'm speaking out of turn here because I haven't finished it until tonight. But I like cliffhangers, and if you've watched me play stuff too, I kind of like waiting and letting stuff marinate. And I'm just a different player like that. And there's no right or wrong. So again, I hope that people understand when I say I would like to see this. I'm not saying everybody should like to see it the same way.
And also, I did take my time through the campaign as well. Like I was stopping and taking pictures and looking through everything.
Yeah.
I spent $7,000 in Eververse because Bungie downloaded my personality and then spat
The
out
Rat King
items.
pack.
There's the Rat
Did you see
King
the-
thing. Yes.
Did you see the Rat King helmet for
I
Warlocks?
wore it the whole time. It's so actually the Rat King helmet. So if you don't know, there's a Rat King bundle that gives you a Rat King ornament, a shader, and a ghost projection. There's also another Rat King bundle that has a sparrow, a ship, and your vehicles. And then there's also a legendary helmet that you can use with Rat King, and it's one of those like tie-ins with a weapon that you're using, or
they
the
interact
things
with
that
one
they've
another.
done. But the Rat King helmet is actually pretty good. Bang for your buck because you get it for all 3 classes.
It's an Eververse helmet only.
It's an Eververse only helmet, yes.
And
You might be able to get it for Bright does later.
It takes on the same effect that Rat King does, where if more people have it on, it will look different. It will change based on how many more people in your fire
It gets
team
brighter.
have it on.
I can't wait to see how bright my head gets. I'm excited.
Look
You know
how
what?
shiny my face is.
I actually watched you hit on something else interesting here. I want to pull the room, and I have a theory that after the 10 years of excitement, and this looks so good. Like the art is so good. It gets you so hyped. I felt that way that I dipped in the Eververse for the first time actually looking, and that was like I closed it down for now, but I felt an urge. I'm curious, did you guys feel any more like, oh, I kind of want to like look even cooler now, and like, or was that just maybe me and Watts?
I didn't pull the trigger on anything in Eververse, but it was because I couldn't figure out. I was like, if I'm going to buy something, I'm going to buy one thing, right? But then I was like, I don't know what I want. There's like 6 things here that I would like to have.
There was a lot of stuff.
So I didn't pull the trigger because it wasn't because I had like hesitation. It was more because I couldn't land on one. I liked so many different things. But yes, I felt that urge.
I have to clarify
not
because
opened it
people
up.
are stupid. Please hold. So I did not spend $7,000 at Eververse, you insane people.
Your hyperbole. People thought you actually spent
that's a joke.
I got the Rat King pack.
Wow.
I got the Rat King bundle, and then I used Rat King throughout the entire Legendary campaign, including I wore the hat, I wore the shader, I wore the ornament, and we used Rat King throughout the entire thing.
Did you get the Displacer Beast Dungeons and Dragons?
Yes,
Hunter
I
set?
did. So I also had I was a tentacle rat, and I was sitting there petting my paracausal cat.
Was
Okay,
$5,000, not 7. Okay.
Yeah, it was actually it was $6,200. Yep.
So, you're not an Eververse fan, Mylan. I take it you didn't look in there.
No, I mean, I'm nowhere near where Briar is. I honestly didn't even open the store. It's just not something I check regularly.
Did you find yourself changing your look of your Guardian for just this? Do you normally do
took
that?
me like 8 years to change, put on a shader. So no, I never do fashion.
You
ever.
don't even bother. I got you.
No,
I did. I felt
heavily because of my fashion.
I normally do at expansion, so I don't think it's like out of character that I was like, I want to look good, and I spent more time, and I actually made like a new look yesterday after I was in the campaign too, and I was like, why am I doing this? What's wrong with me? But it was just like that 10-year hype. I think it's
That's what I was
folks,
doing. Yeah.
But I
look
think
in the cutscenes.
they'll probably see it in the revenue, and I hope there's something there. And like I'm not saying like, hey, I hope they just take home a bunch of money and don't pay their workers enough and overwork them. That's not what we're saying. It's that I think hopefully there's a model here for what I was getting at before of like, if people are happier overall.
I'm not gonna lie to you. During the whole during the whole situation, yes, of the servers, yeah. So I got really unlucky. I couldn't get in for about 2.5 hours when it first launched, and I think I was probably out dealing with errors for about 6 hours, and then when I was playing, I was doing the whole thing of trying to get to the Pale Heart, trying to go to a mission, doing a mission like 5 times. I had to do one of the lost sectors 3 times. So there were times when I was trying to go to the Pale Heart that in between flying to the Pale Heart, I would go into the store and be like, okay, let's buy the next part of what I want to get. I was like, I'm going to do science and see if giving the servers money lets me in.
Oh, let me
People
ask
are going to
you,
believe
Watts.
that too.
It doesn't. It doesn't. It did not let me in.
No.
It didn't let me in.
Okay.
Can I ask you, Watts? They changed the firing animation for Rat King so that it would be more manageable. Did you sense that? Does it feel better?
Yeah. The recoil is definitely, it's quite a bit different. And there were a lot of people in chat who were like, "Whoa, this recoil looks really different. It looks so smooth." So it was definitely noticeable. Yeah.
A positive change, yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And I did use it through the whole campaign. So I was a rat with my helmet the whole time. Okay, it was worth the money.
Can I get clarification actually on? I usually avoid the launch period of server stuff. I wait like 10, 12 hours. Was Lightfall and Witch Queen vastly different? I know this did have a lot of kick out, but I recall Lightfall having issues and the raid had issues, but I don't remember. What's your general like?
This was
under over?
quite bad.
Worse, not only worse, but prolonged.
Yeah.
Like both. Like not just waiting in queue to get in, but like things not loading, having to reload, having to restart missions.
I
missing cutscenes
for like
oh my God.
12 hours, like not just the first 2 hours or 3 hours, like for an extended period of time.
Yeah, I get the impression the bigger issue was that it did let you in, but it kept booting you, whereas previous technical stuff was normally just like a queue. But once you were in, it wasn't too bad, right?
No, when you were in, it was really bad.
No, I mean
previously. Oh, you mean previously.
Yeah. And the issue was you got into the final shape, but people getting booted in the middle of cutscenes. I don't think we've seen a lot of that type of stuff.
Yeah,
or it just skipping the cutscene in general. Like
you lose it.
Right at the beginning with that Cade cutscene, it went to black and it just skipped one of the cutscenes for me. And I went straight to the ink blot cutscene. And I was like, oh,
that's not for you. You don't need to see this.
Yeah, that honestly, it's important to say that like you paid for a product and like it is inexcusable in a lot of ways. Like that's really unfortunate. However, Bungie really they gave you more evidence than I've ever seen of like how hard at work they were to try to fix the issue. So I think if you were frustrated, I'd encourage you to read their Bungie help, etc.
It's very interesting.
But it is
Oh, did they do like a response about it all?
They gave more data. I haven't
details.
seen this type of data.
Really?
Like, this is what we did. Yeah, we got this here. They showed graphs of like, look, the drop off. This is like engineering like feedback. So definitely worth a look at like how much they wanted to like show you like, guys, like we're sorry. They apologized.
Did they talk about like what they anticipated? Like, did it exceed what they?
They talked about it being an issue with some system. I can't remember exactly what it said, but there was essentially a system of when you're signing into the game that you go through. That thing was busted, so they had to reroute people around that to get them into the game. So it was like
a load balancer issue.
Yes, that's what it was.
One?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, that's like straight up load balancing servers, and that was one of the core issues.
Yeah, they had to reroute people through a whole system that they needed to work. So it was
yeah, right.
Yeah, a little tricky there.
Because part of the thing I thought was like they were low on pre-orders for the final shape, and I wonder if they didn't expect to have the comeback that they thought was going to happen.
Well, so and back then they were, but with since Into the Light happened, but every single platform store, the final shape is at the top of best sellers. So, yeah. It did come back up.
That's like reported too. We never got any official info on any of that.
I was like, because when I was even looking at the Steam charts, it's, you know, it tells you they're standing in the store and it's like #1 in top sold. It was, Final Shape has done really well. Really well.
Yeah. I would just remember that although it's not your responsibility is what I was getting at, you should be able to log in like moment one and like, sure, we're all used to a little bit of a queue, but it should be smooth. You paid for it. That being said, there's no way, of course, Bungie expected issues. There's no way they expected these type of issues. It's so complicated. I actually was chatting with a few folks in my chat who have a little bit of connections to those types of teams. And like, I've even observed like website engineering teams directly, like in the middle of E3, like IGN crashing, for example. It's like, it's nightmarish, people working overnight. And so I'm not excusing it, but the point is, I think they did their best to expect some errors and like, it just, some stuff got out of control. It took about, by the way, 10 hour, maybe 11. I know that because I logged in 11 hours after launch, just when they had rebooted with this
after the
big new
reboot,
patch.
And
I had no problem. I actually got no issues. I was lucky, but I didn't play until 11 hours after. So beware of the raid too.
That's basically where it cleared up for me as well.
See what the raid, looks like.
Yeah, we'll see.
But I think the sad thing is, it's probably the worst thing to happen for those returning players who are like, okay, finally, I'll give you one final chance in your final shape. And then it's like, nah, classic Bungie. Like, it just gives them so much fuel to not experience it and to not come back or to hate on Destiny. And it obviously looks awful when you have a release like this and you have like non-Destiny streamers that have large audiences trying out the game or wanting to try the game, and you have all these massive server issues because it just reinforces that they shouldn't be.
I mean, yes and no, but if your loyalty is that shallow where you're like, I'm out when it's like within 12 hours of an extremely enormous content drop, like at this, because it's not just Destiny. I mean, X Defiant on launch day, nightmarish. Same thing happened. Literally unplayable. Couldn't even find matches. There's like 300,000 people searching for a match simultaneously, and it would load you into one by yourself. And that's Ubisoft. I mean, it's just, this isn't unique to Bungie. I feel like gamers as a whole should know at this point, day one, we're probably going to have some issues. Did they go on longer than they should have? Sure, maybe. But I don't know. I just kind of rolled with it because I knew it was probably going to be a pretty dicey day.
Reasonable response. That's a reasonable personal response.
I know what Mylan's getting at.
Have you been on the internet recently, TV?
Again, like
unfortunately,
that's where I was being tempered of like, there is a very, honestly, it's a duh factor of like, there's no way you didn't expect there to be some issues, whether it was a couple hours, but it was interrupting a cutscene like 6-7 hours later. So that's pretty wild and unexpected. But yeah, I mean, I think they did nip it in the bud within that 12 hours, it looks like. So
as far as I'm concerned, playing like a release that big immediately is a play at your own risk kind of thing. It's like, because at this point we've seen it play out across multiple different games, multiple different studios, multiple different releases. We know that time there's a pretty good chance something's going to go wrong. So I always tell people the same thing. People in my chat are like, should I take launch day off? I'm like, nope.
Yeah.
You should take the next day off.
Yeah.
I tell everyone the same thing.
Yeah.
So I think the amount of time is what was particularly severe, even compared to other launches. Like you say, X Defiant, like I'm pretty sure I played X Defiant on release day, but by the time I got up, everything was like fixed. For like this release, by the time I got up, everything was still balked and was still balked for like another 6 hours kind of deal.
Yeah.
I think pushing on like the 12 hours, like I think everyone expects there to be server issues with 2 to 4 hours. I think it's like pretty reasonable. I think when you start getting to like half a day, it's is when you get like that additional madness.
Yeah, and again, it was a getting kicked out of a cutscene type error for many people, not a I can't get in, and I think that only compounded how bad it felt.
Like I said, it was long. I'm not saying that I wasn't at least a little bit perturbed, but at the same time, I did fully expect launch day gonna have issues.
Yeah, I was kind of just like, yep, this is what I expected. Yep.
Yeah, but Lightfall didn't have that same severity of issues.
No, I know.
Lightfall was and had a huge player population. Witch Queen didn't have it either, right?
Are you wondering why it happened?
No, I'm just saying.
Okay,
as,
I was gonna say, I was like, we just talked about the smiley.
No, I guess TV's saying like this is expected, like this is a standard, and I feel like we had improved, like that Bungie had improved the standard, right? So there probably was some expectations.
What I said was play at your own risk.
You know,
I didn't say it was a done deal or anything, but yeah.
You know, like, yeah, I'm just saying it's a shame to lose potential Destiny players, and it's a shame to like be a fan of Destiny and always have people to shit on it, and they use this stuff as fuel without having played the game.
Yeah.
Do you know what I
Absolutely.
mean? That was kind of like where I was coming from.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Hey, look at one of the most successful games of the year and a brand new live service that was insufferable, you know, to get in it. Helldivers too. Yes, Suicide Squad.
Doing great.
I love this guy. Yeah, Helldivers too.
Yeah.
I mean, but interesting. I wanted to point out that like it got a lot of like forgiveness. This game is so amazing. Let me in. It's so amazing. And I will say I didn't hear too much like naysaying over Destiny 2, but I do think it's a shame that there's plenty of people who are never even going to play it and just use it as fuel, like you were saying. But yeah, like it's not uncommon if you're in the social sphere and talking about like a launch. Like Diablo 4 was that. I mean, come on, like the list goes on. But again, you paid $90. You shouldn't have to worry about that. There's people who do log in and are like, what the? I didn't have any idea about this. Well, welcome to online gaming. Yeah, if you haven't been there yet.
And at the same time,
Helldivers was like
you could.
I was gonna say Helldivers was unplayable for like 2 weeks. Yeah, like you're talking about 12 hours.
Dude.
Helldivers was busted for like
Yeah, you couldn't
like
have
a month
friends.
after,
Like
you still couldn't even join friends.
you know,
We're
I'm
losing planets every second. Stop.
Yeah, and like whether you pay $40 for it and you paid what 60 or 50. Actually, Lightfall, I think, or sorry, Lightfall. I think Final Shape is a $50 base, right? Without all the other stuff. So
see, that's the difference between like a new IP and something that has a lot of history and a lot of, you know, passion and anger towards like Bungie specifically. Do you know?
Yeah.
And when they make a mistake, people go harder.
Yeah, but at
Yeah,
the same time,
exactly.
I think that you're gonna start seeing some really positive reviews. Like you already are seeing. There's just gonna be a lot of positive reviews about what is in the final shape that more people are probably gonna take a lot of stock in that. And if they couldn't play on day one, but they already paid for it, they're gonna come back. They're gonna play it next week, grind stuff out.
What are the Steam reviews sitting at? Because I think it was mostly negative, obviously, because of the server issues when it first dropped.
I noticed Steam has different reviews. By the way, Mylan, I was trying to do this. They have reviews for the annual pass edition. They have reviews for the final shape edition. And then I assume that you just go to like Destiny 2 as new reviews. So I bet you have to look at all three for like different, probably just look at Destiny 2, but
you know what is positive though? The Echo Silver Bundle.
I don't even know what
that
is.
has a positive review in the store. Everything else looks like it's mixed at the moment.
A $15
episode 1.
Why you're gonna make me buy this now, aren't you?
Oh, I haven't bought it. I don't want it. But yeah, that has a positive.
It's like I already spent $5,000.
I got what I wanted. I got what I wanted already. I also bought the shader pack. By the way, shader pack.
The Strand one looks dope.
It's really
with
cool.
like the green lines.
Yeah,
it
it's
looks really cool.
So the interesting thing about that as well is that the shader pack has 3 shaders. One is Strand, one is Stasis, and the other is, you'd think, Prismatic, but it's a darkness subclass looking thing. So now people are looking at the animated shaders and being like, wait a second, there's this orange animated one alongside Strand and Stasis. That means we're getting a new subclass.
New subclass confirmed.
Yep.
That's right.
In a year and a half or two, probably.
With an episode
2
tomorrow.
days, mate. Tomorrow.
Resonance, yes. Resonance. Yep,
But for you, Fran, yeah, next year, bud. When he gets around to finishing it.
Get out of here. You don't do that.
Fran's that guy that like you go over to his house for a grill out, and he's standing there at the grill, and he puts the burger patty down on the grill, and you're just watching that thing like he's
They
gonna
just keep
flip it
talking to
right.
you.
He's gonna flip it right, and you're like beads of sweat dripping. He's gonna flip it right.
No, dude, I'm like the opposite.
No, he's
It's
got a
just-
Fran's
timer
like,
on.
I'm a
He's got
one flip
timer on,
guy.
I guarantee it.
No.
He's got a
I'm
timer and a
one-flip guy.
spreadsheet.
Yeah, I am like, it's funny. I've been doing cooking streams on Twitch. I'm like, I
Yeah,
got
no,
my
I've seen 'em.
multiple
They're really good.
thermometers, cooking
Yeah.
gloves. Like, you know, I need multiple special spatulas. Like, I'm that guy. Either way, your
Yeah.
burger's going to take a while, but it will be very good.
I'm
So-
a one flip guy. It drives
Yeah.
my wife crazy because she is the person who's like, can I flip?
It's
Like,
like-
do not touch that meat. Do
It's that
not
Ren and
touch
Stimpy
it, Steph.
extreme close up, and you're just
Yeah.
like sweating and like, please. Totally.
All right, are we doing spoilers yet?
Yeah, I was gonna say to that end. I mean, it's up to you, Watts and team. But like, do you want to do it as like the last topic? Then I could just like actually like sort of walk away and
Leave.
start. Yeah,
Oh,
like I won't
He's
leave
like, I
if it
gotta
screws up.
leave.
I could
the
just
thing, but, like,
leave.
totally, meaning just as an option, since like you're like go finish the story. But otherwise, whenever and however you guys want to do it.
I don't have a ton. I think we covered a lot of stuff, but there's like maybe a couple of quick thoughts I
I
could give to things that are
think-
spoiler related.
I'm trying to. So
I'm not upset either way.
yeah, I'm not sure actually. I think that there is a character that we might want to discuss. That you find out about post campaign. I think that's
Oh, you
pretty
reckon
important
Fran
for
needs
the
to know
raid.
about it?
Well, Fran, do you want to know lore about a character?
Nah, he
No,
can't.
I
He's
don't.
not
I mean,
finished
I'm
yet.
gonna
Yeah.
know today.
Yeah,
Like,
no,
I'm
you
just-
gotta finish it.
I've got a video you can watch when you finish the campaign. Go to my channel.
Oh,
can
you know
watch
what we
that video,
can
you're
talk
all set.
about? Oh, here you go. Non-spoilery. I've been reading the lore book all the way through the campaign whenever we unlock it. And Mylan, have you read it yet? The one through the campaign?
What? I don't know how you're so quick at doing stuff. No, I haven't read it yet.
I just read it as it unlocked in the campaign.
Can't think of anything
well,
worse.
I will tell you. See, it's because I don't do it
That's
as a
me
job,
too.
Mylan. It's because I don't have lore as a job. I'm just like, oh, I want to find out a little
Yeah,
bit
you're-
more. Where's
Yeah,
what's
your
in me?
relationship, to be fair, Marlon, is very different.
Quite different.
Yeah.
You're looking at a lot more work when you see a lore drop. You're like, oh, Christ.
Exactly. Yeah, you're
because I
looking
know
at
if I
lore. I'm
open it
looking at
up-
interesting tidbits.
Yeah.
It's a
Because if
rabbit
I open it up, it's gonna spiral chat into
Yeah.
some discussion about this, that, and the other. Then we're gonna be in that zone for next 4 hours.
Well,
With that tinfoil hats on going.
the lore book is very cool. So it's basically
Okay.
just taking you through different people's views on light and dark. So you have the Praxic Order in there. You've got can't remember the name of the other guys.
This
The
is in-game.
in-game lore
Yeah.
book. Yeah, lore book.
Like the usual, like, is it like the usual drops? It's
Yes,
nothing
yeah,
like
yeah,
new
yeah,
and
yeah.
spe- Okay, yeah.
Yeah. So it just takes you through a bunch of people talking, and you've got Savathun in there. You've got a bunch of people talking about what the light and dark is. And kind of all these people coming to the realization of, and to be like, we told you we were right, that light doesn't automatically mean good and dark doesn't automatically mean evil.
It's very thin.
So it's been really interesting. It was interesting reading that as everyone discussed their different thoughts on what light and dark is.
So that's been coming up a bit, obviously, in the campaign and
Yeah,
post-campaign a bit. I felt it was a bit odd because I feel like we've already had this discussion. We had this discussion in Lightfall with Strand. Like, I felt like everyone had already come to the conclusion that darkness wasn't bad. But
Well-
now it feels like it's having it again.
I think it's also because like Zavala is like being, he's being tempted by the darkness. You've got like people are more coming on board of like
Right.
maybe they were right. But then you also have some other people in the lore books who are like, do you not remember why Osiris got kicked out of the tower? How can you say that this is like a good thing that we should meddle with? We shouldn't. So it's really interesting. I'm very happy that I read it alongside the campaign because I was getting these
Right.
little insights as to what people think about us mixing light and dark.
So you're saying I should stop and read the lore before I continue? Is this what I'm hearing? Because we have plenty of time to do the raid.
Fran, you just keep chugging along, my dude.
I mean, it's not too. The raid is not too soon. I don't see what your worry is. Like,
Put your blinders on and just.
Yeah, I mean, for the record, I've played a good 10 hours. And it'll be 15 or so tonight, hopefully.
Oh, there's another lore book
saying-
that I'm reading, Mylan. That's the ghost talking.
Ghosts,
It's the ghost lore book, and it's so cute. And I just want to say that the fact that it's 10 years later, and this is the first time that we're really hearing from ghosts in the campaign as well, and post campaign, hearing of what it means to have a ghost. Really, like, it's making me feel significantly more attached to the traveler and the ghost. And
I noticed that as a lore dummy. I was like, whoa, all that. Like, I didn't know any of these ghost names until like they're throwing them out. I had no idea. Just forgot, you know, if they ever brought them. And but like a definite, like, it is as important as you are. I felt in the story. I felt that, but
they're really, that lore. I really like the ghost lore book so far. I don't have all of them, but hearing what ghosts think of us has been very, very cool. I've really enjoyed reading it.
I won't spoil anything, but there is a snippet in there in the campaign where Tarj has an exchange with our ghost and really kind of like tells our ghost off, like, stay in your lane, bro. Like, you don't know jack squat about who I am and my bond. You know what I mean? I actually kind of enjoyed that.
It is nice, right?
Like, my bad.
You're seeing the ghosts kind of be their individual people as well as being part of this collective thing, and it's been really cool.
Taj is a good ghost because I think he breaks some of the mold of like how ghosts talk and treat you, and kind of just being a bit more stern, I guess, which makes sense being Zavala's ghost.
Yeah,
it's quite nice. We haven't talked about Zavala actually. I thought Keith David,
Keith David,
did a great job. Like,
he did a great job. Yeah,
you know, I think it's respectful for the role. I don't think he's not trying to sound like Lance. I think it's a good thing, and I think he makes a great Zavala. Like, he's Zavala. Like, he sounds different, but he sells.
Yeah,
Zavala.
that's very true. That's a good point because it doesn't sound like Lance, right? But when you're playing through it, it's like it's not weird that this voice is coming from Zavala.
Yeah, it's not. It doesn't take you out of the moment. You're like, this is Zavala. Like, he's nailed the character.
Yeah, he might be a perfect choice. I would say, unfortunately, not perfect though, because I cannot on here the president from Rick and Morty, if you know that show, and it does take me out, and that's not like I know it's not.
No,
it's not his fault. It's not.
Dad, keep that shit to yourself, friend.
Everybody, please go watch Mylan's stream, and every time you hear Zavala from remind him so he can't unhear it.
You're right.
I'm sorry.
Fuck you.
Yeah, I visually picture stuff. But that's like whatever. He does a great job, but it's tough for me to unhear because I'm a big Rick and Morty fan so, of that stuff. And he's so like vulgar. I'm sorry. Anyway, I'm not the only one. I know that.
I obviously think of the Arbiter, and I was like, this is great. Yeah,
you know what it is? I need to go listen to a bunch of Arbiter stuff, like in my sleep. That is a good call. Erase.
Like the Arbiter, the Arbiter. Yes, exactly. I know the Arbiter. Yes, I'm thinking of the Arbiter. Halo 2, Arbiter, great. But I was not thinking of Rick and Morty, President.
For me, it took me back to the show Psych because he played one of the main characters' dads, Gus's dad, in the show Psych, which is a great show.
All right.
That's funny.
I did see Cletus says he sounds more aggressive than Lance ever did, but I think that's because of Zavala's storyline throughout this. Like, Lance is like, Zavala's like, screw this, I'm done. Traveler sucks. Boo hoo, get out of here. I'm going to the witness. So,
pretty much. Yeah.
What have you ever done for me, you silent bitch? Yeah, that's pretty much exactly what he said.
Like a lot of build up like that. We've been. Like, Zavala's been broken for quite some time. Like, this kind of needed to happen. Like, we've been building up to him just having a full-on meltdown.
So, all that pent up because he's not like I express my feelings. Yeah, he's just sort of been shouldering it all.
Exactly. He's finally cracked and it's all come out. You know, all these emotions have come out. Yep.
Yes.
Anything else?
I mean, the TWAB, if it's worth noting, but it's like mostly just about the raid on Friday. There was a raid trailer, but again, a lot
There
of this
was
is
a
like
raid
kind
trailer.
of moot in
Does
the
anyone
24 hours.
Can anyone remember like do you have like the main important things for the raid? What's been banned? What you should
There
not have
is.
equipped?
Yes, there is there was a little bit in the TWAB, and then there was a follow-up on Bungie help as well. But they said they're going to be updating the TWAB, so you could probably just look at the TWAB. So I will
Yeah,
just take you through that real quick.
Yeah, I'd be mindful. Like things could even change. Like by the time you hear this, I don't think it will at this point. We're as of recording, like 12 hours away from the raid almost starting. A little more than that, but
So it's not a huge list. We've definitely had larger lists before, but these are the current disabled items from the raid. So Cascade Point Weapon Perk, Lucky Pants Exotic Hunter Pants, Magnificent Howl Weapon Perk, the Facet of Command Prismatic Hunter Fragment, the Relentless Strikes Weapon Perk, the Hunter Ascension Aspect. It also mentions here that to give the service some space to breathe, there's going to be no bounty or weapon crafting progress for combatant kills below boss tier within the raid while contest mode is enabled.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot of hunter stuff. Yeah. Yeah. But I'm gonna be making.
Well, I mean,
yeah.
no, I was just gonna take a crack at hunters, but I won't.
Because we're
No,
so
it's fine. Go ahead.
strong and powerful,
I
Mylan.
was like, I mean,
Gotta
if you got hunters in your
nerf us.
team anyway, you're throwing anyway. It's not right
Gotta
about it.
nerf us. Well, you say that, but I'm gonna be making myself a Nighthawk build for the raid.
What is our raid composition looking like? Watts? What
I don't know.
I'm Titan, you're Hunter. What are you, Fran?
Hunter.
Oh fuck. What,
What's sassy?
hey, there's no more radiant
I
well
think he's a
anyways.
hunter too.
Joker does everything.
We've got too many hunters. Oh no.
No, it'll be fine.
Maybe that's a new loadout.
That's too many free spirits in one fire team. Like you're gonna
Yeah,
need
that's
you need a
too many
solid
lone
leader.
wolves. That's too many
That is-
lone wolves. Yeah.
that is true. Oh man, chaos.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, they nerfed well, so whatever.
We're just gonna throw down tons of Duskfield nades with renewal grasps. on
Yeah,
it.
yeah,
It'll
That's
be
the
a
play.
chilly but safe environment.
We'll have a ton of frost armor.
I secretly hope the new meta is someone standing behind your DPS team shooting each other with the
Lumina?
heal
Oh, the
gun.
auto rifle.
No, the
yeah.
auto
The
rifle.
auto rifle.
Oh,
Yeah.
the new
Yeah.
auto rifle. Yeah. Definitely.
Yeah. Just
There's-
like
there's
guys,
a
I got the
lot of-
heals. I've got the
There's
heals.
a lot of new healing support stuff between that auto rifle, the healing turret for Warlock's exotic, the speaker helmet, the Red Death catalyst. Have you looked at that?
No.
Like you,
I haven't
like
seen it
basically, as you're getting kills, you're charging it up until you get like a final blow eventually that will create like a healing explosion around you that will heal all of your allies. And then leave
true.
a remnant behind that will continuously heal, like a healing rift almost. It's kind of cool.
So they're having us just deal with our own healing. Figure it out
Like we're
yourself.
gonna nerf well, but then we're gonna give you lots of mini wells. Sound cool? Fair trade-off.
I'm actually excited. Hopefully we see, I don't know, I have no idea how it's performing, but I'm curious to see people use the well, how it is now, dipping in and out of it and having some more quote unquote offensive perks to it. But yeah, like there might be a well up near
Bubble's
DPS
not
or
the
something. I don't know.
same in
Yeah.
PvP. I walked into a bubble today and just punched a dude twice and he died. I was like,
Fantastic.
Bro. Part of me feels a little bad, but bubbles have been meta in
Annoying.
trials for
Yeah,
like
true.
3 years now, so I'm like, I'm just gonna
It's been so
take
long.
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Even as a Titan, yeah, I agree. Death to bubbles. Who cares?
Yep.
I don't even play PvP. I just from limited experience with how
Yeah.
annoying bubbles are.
Terrible and annoying.
Trials. Yeah.
Like just people dancing in bubbles, too much of that has gone on for too long.
Where else we at?
I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, again, just to be clear, like you guys can always break into the spoiler stuff if you decide.
We're getting
I'm not
close
keeping them
to-
from doing it. They are choosing up to this point, Chad. And obviously,
we like you. We like you, Fran. We like your
appreciate
Yeah, we
it.
want you
They
to
wanna
stick
keep you
around.
They
You
love
stick
the
around.
huge bummer guy to be around. No, remember that we have a year to talk about all this. It's not like we're not going to talk about everything, but anyway, just putting that out.
Well,
there.
I guess we could not go past where Fran has been in the campaign, because the character that I'm keep talking about will probably know quite a bit more next week.
Maybe tomorrow. I don't know.
Yeah,
Out of
tomorrow,
curiosity,
sure.
with the conclusion, you think if the raid's beaten, you'll get some answers on what you're wondering? Or do you feel?
Yeah,
like
I
you're
reckon
gonna
we
have to-
kick Fran. I reckon we say goodbye and we start doing spoilers.
Again, totally fine because I got to eat.
Yeah.
But up to you, Watts. Let me know.
I reckon start monologuing Fran and then Watts just press disconnect on it.
You.
It's the best exit.
that is the Mylan energy that is coming to our raid tomorrow, which I'm honestly excited about.
Go quick. Kick it down.
I hope Mylan's party leader tomorrow, and I'm just literally like streaming. All of a sudden, I'm like going to orbit. I'm like, did I get kicked to disconnected? And then I'm gonna see I'm like blocked in the
I was
raid
gonna say
channel.
the loot drop. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna be like blocked, and I'll be like, I guess I got kicked, Chad.
Oh, funny stuff.
What do you guys want to do?
I think we should talk spoilers. I think we should talk spoilers.
Okay.
Yeah, one.
The boss, the raid stuff, the little bit of lore.
Boss,
bits and
raid stuff,
pieces.
lore.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
we'll pretty much
Yeah, I
be at
think
the end
so.
of the show at that point. So
Yeah.
well,
not sure we're gonna have time for Twitter questions, gamers.
Might have to save those for next week.
Yeah, I can save them. I can put them.
Give him all the
Put 'em away.
Lego. Make him feel all those.
Yeah. So story spoilers incoming. Watch from a production standpoint. Do you want me to leave my camera on and just
Yeah, if
or
you can
do
leave the camera on, that'd be
Yeah,
cool.
like I'll just leave my. Did that screw that up or no?
No, that's fine.
Otherwise, I can put my microphone in the shot. It doesn't matter. Which
You can
do
do
prefer?
you can do either. Either is totally fine. So whatever you feel better about. Yeah, there you go.
We'll do that.
Hold on.
That way you can
Do
get
you have
naked.
do you have a kitchen cam? Because I wouldn't mind watching you make a sandwich.
I do have, but I'm not going to do that for you. It's too distracting. You guys focus on the story. But
Because I would watch you make a sandwich while we talk. I think that would be perfect.
this is the raid tomorrow. I'm getting more and more excited at the chaos that this is. Anyway, it was awesome. I'm going to mute everything. So enjoy. And Watts, I'll keep it on chat in case you tag me.
Okay. Thanks, Fran.
GG's.
Appreciate it. Well,
See you, Rat.
Bye, friend.
how like
All right. What do y'all
Alright,
want to get
let's
into
talk.
first then?
Well, do you want to? I don't know.
You were all like, yeah, kick him
We
out.
got-
We wanna talk
get rid
first.
of Frank,
He gets
get
out
rid of him.
he
Like, what do you
gets
wanna
out
talk
of here,
about?
he's
no, nothing really to talk about, is there?
Oh, okay, no, listen. I was gonna say let's talk about the boss and the final encounter and the witness, but I was like, is there anything before that we really?
There is
wanna-
something I do want to mention.
Okay.
We got some great cutscenes, and
did.
as much as I'm a big fan
Oh
of
yeah,
the
cutscenes are
narrative,
really good.
one issue I did have was the Ikora Ray and Cade 6 reuniting was like 15 seconds and not a cutscene, and that bothered me because
I think Akora was the weakest character out of everything.
that reunion deserved a lot more writing and screen time than it got. Because
Yeah,
like Zavala
agreed.
gets his own cutscene with the reuniting with Cade.
Yeah.
But Ikora was the one that was fired up. She was pissed.
He made a promise to her, right? So
And she was the one that was most emotionally like really attached to that whole situation. And I felt like it deserved a much better conclusion to that than we were given.
Yeah, I agree. I actually was one of my criticisms of the. Well, you can't really criticize Final Shape for it, but you really noticed how little backstory and information they've done with Ikora over the last decade.
Yeah.
Zavala had a proper thing that could play out. Obviously, Crow has, his whole storyline and Cade and all this kind of stuff, but Ikora was like meditating when you found her. Whereas Zavala gets his whole backstory, his homestead, his son's grave, cutscenes, and Ikora's like meditating, and then has a good shout in game at Cade. I was like, oh wow, that was pretty intense. And then I was kind of waiting for a little bit more. And then, like you said, it was basically over. And it's kind of a shame when you think about it that Akora being one of the Vanguard has such little sort of strings for them to pull on in the final expansion. Like, yeah, Zavala was kind of the hero of it.
He was
really.
the focus,
and Cade, yeah.
And Crow.
And Crow and Cade too, I think,
Yeah.
like they're all their dynamics. So Cade kind of brings like the dynamic of being back in the team, and how he interacts with everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know what I want to talk about.
Go for it.
The veiled statues.
The
yeah.
dissenters.
We called it. We called it.
Oh my God. That was I loved that. So it was really cool because initially we're kind of just like, are they bad? Are they just like parts of the witness? And then throughout the campaign, you start hearing them scream like, help me. And they're like in pain. And I'm like, I don't know, guys. We might be okay to trust them. And then Zavala hears them himself. And he's like, yeah, no, I trust him. I think we should see what's going on with them.
I'd let him watch my children. So I was like, yeah, babysit my kids.
Yeah. So, and then that whole storyline, I really, really, really enjoyed. Like learning more about the dissenters, them being like, we can only speak to you in the darkness because the witness is like keeping FBI tabs on him. Whatever.
Yeah, they were bound.
Yeah, they were bound. Bound by not being able to tell us, but could show us? ? Yeah, so I really like that whole storyline, hearing that, because initially we just heard that the original race that the witness came from, that everyone was like, yeah, screw this, let's become one big thing and have everyone stopped in time forever, perfection, salvation, blah, blah, blah. But there are people who are like, no, I don't want to do this, and that was really cool. And then that obviously played into the final boss fight, which was.
So the story of those guys and girls, I think, is from the Collector's Edition book. They actually hint at there being multiple like factions of that precursor race that didn't agree on the final shape. So we're probably assuming this is a reference to one of those groups that still got accumulated into the witness.
Yeah.
But potentially weren't happy with like the outcome or didn't agree on the final shape.
Yeah. And that came into play in the final boss fight.
They didn't really play any more out than that, though. I mean, you probably could have. There was a lot of other stuff happening anyway. Like, it was mainly about the characters, really. But I wouldn't have complained if there was a little bit more about them, the veiled statues, because they've been a big part of Destiny for quite a while.
They have been, yeah. You know what I did really like, though? I did like, because we were all praising that trailer where we saw the veiled statue with the reflective glass.
Was good.
Seeing the context of that was really cool, where you have like the witness talking to Zavala and then they like shine the light on him and they're like, no, listen to me. I'm like, yeah, I love that. I really
when you're
really
trying
like
to get
that.
your dad's attention.
Yeah. Dad, don't listen. Yeah.
Shine the light in his eyes. Yeah. Yeah, that was good. I mean, I still the whole like witness like infecting the traveler thing with like the goop feels, I don't know like where that really comes from. Like I don't feel like that's been explained. It's kind of happening, right? Like they've infected the traveler, and like post campaign's all about healing the traveler, right? Like trying to heal the traveler and trying to save these ghosts. And heal the ghost, which heal the traveler. And everything's connected is kind of like what they're suggesting to take out the witness, is like everything's already like connected together through the lights. And then we've got all these like hints about how Cade died and he felt Sundance and he was like, circle of life kind of stuff, like being reconnected back to the traveler. And our actions post campaign is like how we prepare to defeat the witness by collecting these ghosts and like returning them and healing them, kind of deal. I'm
just picturing Micah. Sorry, I watch a streamer called Mika, so I call her Mika. I can't help it. Micah, I'm envisioning her going into the raid and just like shuffling the ghosts like some die and throwing it on the floor, and they just go boop boop boop.
Yeah.
Light beam of power. Yeah.
Yeah. So obviously, when you defeat the witness, you get a couple cutscenes. You get a
But
really
before
cool,
that,
like,
do you want to talk
rendered
about
cut.
the witness
Yeah,
fight?
let's talk about
Because
then
it kind of goes on with the veiled statues, right? Because we realize that we go into this other realm and the veiled statues are like, kill us, destroy us. They say destroy us, right? That was such a cool line. Like every single time you went in and they're like, destroy us.
Yeah, you get like a longer bit of dialogue. I haven't rechecked it again.
Yeah.
The first time you get to like phase 2, you actually get like a full on.
That's right.
Dialogue piece. I can't remember what it said. And then every time after, it's like, kill us or destroy us. Or like,
Let's do it. Come on.
Yeah.
I did appreciate that if you died and you went back in, you didn't have the whole monologue to wait. It just started with destroy us.
Yeah. So what did you think about the boss fight with the witness? It crept up on me. I was like not expecting it yet. It kind of just appeared. I was like, oh, okay.
I appreciated it. You know, I was always worried because up until this release, I haven't really felt much of a connection to the witness. I haven't felt much of like an emotional response the way that you did with like something like Forsaken, where you see even in the trailers before we got it, it's like, oh, hate Crow, Aldrin rather. I hate Aldrin, gotta get out there, gotta kill Aldrin. But the witness, we never had like that emotional connection to because he never was directly impacting our world the way that the other antagonists were. He was more indirectly through other agencies. So for us to finally go toe to toe with the I can't say him, them, you know, it's all these beings in one. The witness.
It is, yeah.
To see the witness in front of us, and I remember the first time I walked into the room and it just like they summon all these daggers. And
yeah.
You're like, oh, what? Oh, okay, crap. You run for cover. And you really feel that sort of impending danger for the first time with the witness in real time, in gameplay. And so I really appreciated that for sure.
Yeah, because I think, Mylan, I was watching your stream when you were talking about the witness fight of like you had to hide and you didn't really get to.
Yeah.
So I was like, I'm hiding so I don't get to see them. Yeah. So I did poke my head out so I could watch the animation because their animation for their attack is really cool. They do like this finger thing and then all the spikes come out, the spears, and ching. It's really cool.
I think it'll be different if you're in a team and like because I'm assuming if you're in a team, do they only target one person?
He prioritizes one in a team, yeah.
Okay.
Right.
So you could be like, I'm gonna watch you go run away.
I think when you're playing solo, you really are struggling to survive, and you are just kind of in hide mode, which is not like a bad thing. I just wish I actually saw the witness more because as soon as they did the attack, just like sort of cowering behind a pillar, you know. But the mechanics overall were cool. But as a solo player, it was a lot of hide and seek, which is fine. But I kind of wish I had a more of a, you know, when you get like a DPS phase, you actually see the boss. You see, like, you know, you get the music rising, and you get like, you really get that feeling. This was much more mechanic hide and seek focused than, you know, really sticking it to the witness because it's probably going to be saved for the raid.
Yeah,
this
was just the.
This is the foreplay.
Can we chip the witness
yeah,
out?
I just want to make it bleed. That's all.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah, I did like it because, you know, you're going into different rooms, you're grabbing the Aegis, you've got this whole like swirly thing happening around you of the world being destroyed, and then you're going into the different realm with the sword and you're killing the veiled statue. So it was a very awesome set piece fight that I thought was quite a big spike in difficulty, I'd say, because you just got a lot to manage, right? Like you're managing your buff timer, you're managing like don't get frozen and then slowed and then dragged to the middle and then shot with the witness.
Yeah. It was cool. Yeah. All the things to juggle. Yeah, especially how it slowly stacks them on top. Like you introduce the mechanic, and then the final round, it's like you've got to juggle the darkness shroud or whatever. So you've got to have that buff the whole time. Then you got to have the shield, and then you got to be dodging his bullets, and then you got to be dodging the stasis, and then you got to be dodging the strand.
There was a lot,
Yeah. Chat has a good point. They're kind of like it's not meant to be the final fight, and maybe that's right. You know, like
it's definitely not.
Obviously, I was saying like I was just playing hide and seek, and maybe that's the point, right? Like you are kind of cowering in front of the witness because there's no way you can take them out. Which
That's
makes
true.
sense.
Yeah. No, I think that makes me appreciate it even more, right? Where it's like you go into this fight and you're like, they're literally not even in front of me, so I don't know what I'm supposed to do here.
Yeah, I literally can't even look at you.
I
or I die. I literally.
Exactly. Yeah. And
pretty
so
much.
that kind of goes into the what do you think will be the raid? Because clearly we didn't kill the witness. Bungie has said they want to kind of encourage people to get into the raid this time because it's such a huge part of the story. And then we know that there's more story post raid. So I'm going to assume we're not actually killing the witness in the raid.
This is a tough one, right?
It is a tough one.
When I did my like first impressions of the final shape, I got a lot of comments saying, well, you can't really judge it yet because you haven't done the raid. And it's true. But I think a lot of people are seeing it from the perspective of it's going to improve the story. But I think there's actually a lot of potential for things to go wrong. Like, for example, we're not playing, like Watts and I are not playing on release because I don't want to be up at 1 a.m. and I force everyone to start at Australian times. So everyone kind of agreed to start, 7 a.m. Perth time, which is what time for you? What's like
4
in the
p.m.
afternoon,
4
right?
p.m. Yep.
So, it could go bad for us if we log in and we see a cutscene and things are spoiled for us before we get to experience, because everything is being cohesive. Like we want to do the raid as part of the story. So if it gets spoiled before we get to do it, that's like, I think that would change people's opinion of the campaign. But I would probably go, well, that's dog shit. Like this is the conclusion of Light vs. Dark Saga. I'm playing it on day one. I'm just not playing it on release.
Right.
I want to go in to see it and experience it because it's so integral to the story. Like, please don't ruin it for me.
Yeah.
In the game.
Sure.
Like, I can stay off social media. I won't check Twitter. I won't check, YouTube. I won't go online. But if I get like a roll cutscene as soon as I log in, like I will be disappointed.
Surely they have to have it be like a thing that you opt into, right? Like
surely.
You can't log in and be like, the witness is dead thanks to the Guardians. You're like, what the heck? What do you mean? Yeah.
I hope not. I really hope not. I really, really hope not.
Yeah. I hope not.
But to answer your question, like, so yeah, what will happen? Like, for people who don't raid, how are they going to get the conclusion? And Bungie has the answer to this. Like they've hinted that they're doing something. So does that mean a node's going to open up? Are we going to get sent back in there like they did in with Roll? Like you had a mission go back into the raid, like cool. almost like a strike mission that would open up, and you would get some conclusion from that point of view. So yeah, I do think there's lots of opportunities for it to not go well and not give you a good conclusion because it's tied to a raid. Like this can go either way.
Sparty brings up a good point about, so we know that we have the exotic class items that we're going to have access to, and they specifically mentioned it was post-raid, post-reset. So maybe, I mean, surely something has to happen when the whatever happens in the raid is beaten, but maybe we don't see like a big thing happen until Tuesday reset. I don't know. I don't know.
I hope they have another cutscene.
Oh, it's gotta be.
Cutscene.
Yeah, gotta be.
Not like Inkblot one, like a full blown. Maybe that's being optimistic, but it would really be cool to see a full blown cutscene of the witness's demise.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll see how it goes. Hey,
I'm excited to experience it.
I
hope I just get a chance to experience it. That's all I want.
Yeah, I this has definitely made me more excited for the raid than, I mean, I've always looked forward to seeing the raid, right? But Bungie's done a lot this time around. You had, first of all, when you had that witness boss fight, they had almost like a end of season TV show cutscene. And then you've got the countdown over the Pale Heart that's counting down to the raid release. When you go to the tower, you've got like a debuff thing on your character that says like things are looming or whatever. And then you also have the kind of like a checklist of preparing for the final shape, and it's showing you a bunch of things in there. So it definitely feels like we're leading up to something. And
we weren't even going to do the raid, Watts.
We weren't. You know how pissed I would have been? I'm like, Violet, hurry up. I'd figure it out.
We would have been scrambling for a team.
Yeah, we would have been.
Right.
The character that I kept bringing up was Micah, by the way, Micah 10.
Oh yeah, Micah 10.
I
We haven't
will
talked about Micah
say,
10.
Micah 10, her voice, I'm like, who does this remind me of? And it hit me. I was like, it's Holly from The Office. And if you think about Holly from The Office, next time you hear Micah talking, you'll be like, totally. And then you won't be able to get it out of your head.
Fran's already ruined Zavala for me, so please don't do it.
How's that ruining?
I don't know Holly from The Office.
She's also in what's the name of that show? It's like a noir detective thing with Colin Farrell. It's actually pretty good. She's in that too. Anyways,
go check out Mylan's lore video on Micah 10 if you want to have the lowdown of who they are. She,
yeah. And the way that I wrote that video is I watched my 2 videos from 3 years ago from what they said about Micah, because she's got like a whole bunch of lore.
She's got so much dialogue in here too. It's
like
impressive.
a lot.
This campaign is kind of linked to her, and obviously she's important because she's in the she's going to be important in the raid because she's
the new speaker, right, Mylan? That's what's happening. She's a speaker. She was a little kid writing letters to the Traveler, and then ghosts are seeking her out and all that.
Yeah, okay. So to give people the full lore rundown,
yeah,
but
all right.
I need to see you guys with the taint scratchers, and you guys have been there, so then you need to comment.
I'll post the video in chat right now.
Taint scratcher. She had 2 dads that were her parents. One was a psychologist, one was an engineer. Ended up working with a Clovis Bray. She went to Europa as a child to live there, and all the adults there were basically part of the research team to make exos. The dad worked on trying to solve the exo problem, with like transferring the human brain, and they would freak out, like rip their arms off and stuff, the DER. And the other guy, Papa, was like an engineer. She actually meets Cade 6 before he's Cade 6, before he's a Guardian, like
Cade 1. It was like Cade
1?
Yeah.
Or just Cade, like Exo Cade. So she has a connection to Cade through her childhood, basically. Her dad, the psychologist, finds out about just how shady Clovis Bray is and all the unethical practices, and it's implied that he resigns but goes missing. And the law book ends with her basically trying to find him on Europa, and that's how it ends. And the next time we see her, she's an Exo. So the implication is their entire family was eventually converted to Exos, probably against their will.
Yeah.
Including herself. And as a kid, she actually dreams of being an Exo and communicating with the Traveler, which is like a sign of future speakers when they have communication dreams with the Traveler. So she kind of had some of the telltale signs of what they would identify for future speakers. And then when the collapse happened, if ghosts follow you around, that was also like a sign that you were like had increased or was thought to, have a special connection with the Traveler. So she ends up having ghosts that like kind of follow her around. She has like a gang of ghosts.
She does.
As an Exo. So she kind of had a lot of
she calls them a flock.
Signs. Yeah, a flock. Yep.
A flock of ghosts.
And one of her ghosts revives Andal Brask, which is the Hunter Vanguard before Cade 6.
Yep.
So she met Cade. One of the ghosts revives the Hunter Vanguard, and she also knew Tallulah Fairwind, which was the first Hunter Vanguard. So she's got like heaps of lore connections the Hunter Vanguard from Origins to now. So that's kind of a nice tie-in.
Cool. That is very cool.
You guys have done the post-credit, the post-campaign, right? Crow and so Crow is the new Hunter Vanguard.
Crow is the new Hunter Vanguard. And if you're on a hunter, when you go and talk to Cade after the thing is over, he says something about good job dodging the Hunter Vanguard gig.
Yeah. That's nice. Yeah. So what else did she
she was part of the 6 Coyotes.
She helped recruit the 6 Coyotes as well. So we're expecting her flock of ghosts to be important to deal with the witness, and which is kind of what we're doing in the post campaign, like collecting these like ghosts that are suffering and like restoring them and hoping that was going to restore the traveler. So I'm imagining the mechanic might involve ghosts. That might be like the beacons or like the things that we're doing or the things we're carrying or something like that. Or we might just see more of her. I reckon it'd probably be like a mechanic, maybe.
Release the ghosts.
And stuff. Like, collect light and like dunk the light ball onto the dead ghost kind of deal or something. Maybe.
I'm very excited to see where we go here, and very curious to see what Bungie does with getting everyone involved with such a heavy story raid. I hope they make it accessible for everyone, like even if you're not a raider, that you can still be involved with that.
Yes, same.
Yeah.
Same. And so, correct me if I'm wrong, we never, like, the final encounter in the campaign wasn't at the monolithic, like, structure yet, was it? You know how, like, we're working towards the big tower in the distance?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. The final encounter wasn't at that tower. That tower is going to be the raid, right?
I don't know. Now that you mention it, I'm not too sure that I paid that close attention.
Were we at, because we climbed it, right, to get in there. Were we at the bottom part of it?
I don't think that was the tower though.
Okay. Yeah, it's like before that. Okay.
So it's further back in the skybox.
We climbed the thing that looked like the upended thing from Rolk's raid.
Yeah,
We climbed the symbol of it.
Yeah.
But I don't know if that was the
tower's in the background
itself.
Okay. The tower is in the background.
Actually the only thing I was thinking about was, like, it was all linear. I didn't actually get that impression because there was so much stuff going on in the power. I didn't really get that overshadowing, overlooming presence of that, like, tower in the background like you would with, like, Sauron, like Lord of the Rings. Like, I didn't really feel like we were journeying towards that. I don't know if I just didn't pay enough attention, because it definitely is in the skybox at certain points, but, like, yeah, did you feel that? Because that's what we're doing, right? We're meant to be journeying to
the monolith, and then the raid is
to the monolithic structure where the witness is, right?
Yeah, maybe they could have had like even like some dialogue with the ghost or something that would sort of draw your attention to it as you're moving closer to it. That would have been better to sort of feel its presence looming closer and closer.
Chat's answering those questions. I have to go back and have a look.
Very, very exciting. I'm very excited. Tomorrow we will all find out.
Yeah, tune in.
Yeah, we will.
I'm assuming we'll all be streaming. Watts,
Fran, Aries might even be streaming. We'll see. Might be.
Yeah.
But yeah, we are starting at 4 p.m. Pacific.
You didn't sign up for Twitch Rivals, did you, Watts? Or did you?
No, I didn't.
See, I didn't either because it was starting late. But
same.
I was like, there's no point. But what if everyone's still going? Maybe we should have.
Maybe. Is that? I think that'll do it for today, right?
About it?
I think so. I mean, we do have the exotic sword, which is
pretty
crazy.
Sword.
Well, it's not just anything. Any exotic person. I got my first one was Traveler's Chosen on the sword. So that's actually pretty cool because you can I had it on a vortex frame, so I could spin around, kill a bunch of dudes, switch off the sword, and then all my stuff is.
But if you acquire the stacks, your lunge distance gets way crazy if you get max stacks on it.
Yeah, it's really cool. It's really, really cool. And I know a lot of people are mentioning that the sword was on our grave, and that's the sword that we get.
Oh, is it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Do you know? I paid because when Destiny was being, I hired people to help me write scripts to get more stuff done, and I paid for a script about how we would die during the final shape or post final shape, and I didn't like it, and I never used it, and here we go.
Yeah, I mean, you look at our ghost. Our ghost is cracked the fudge up. We got a sword that's on our grave. I don't know.
Everyone says, please do the lawman. I'll be honest. I tuned out during that season. That whole graveyard season, I was out. I was there reading lore, but I hardly played.
There you go.
I'll be
Well,
that.
all right.
We'll see you tomorrow.
Tomorrow, yeah, the DCP crew. I know TV. You're gonna be rating, right? You're starting at reset, and you'll be streaming
Yes,
it.
ma'am.
I assume.
Yeah, probably. If not me, then you can always watch like Hovey will be streaming it as well.
There
You're
you
gonna
go.
be streaming on Twitch or YouTube?
Twitch.
Twitch.
There you go. You
Copy
can go
that.
check out TV streaming. We'll be starting at 4. I think what I'm going to do is get on around 12 p.m. Pacific, do a little bit more raid prep. We're going to watch the Summer Game Fest from 2 to 4. And then I'm going to come in the raid going, Myla, did you see Monster Hunter Wilds? Oh my God, it's here. I'm so excited. And then be excited about the witness.
And I'll be like, brother, I'm just having my coffee. It's 7 a.m. I'm still waking up.
Yeah, I'm going to be like, oh my God. Yep. That's
Leo
plan.
will be screaming in the background. Guys.
And then you'll have me going, Monster Hunter. And Fran will be like, I don't know, guys. I don't know. Yeah. Making sandwiches.
Dude, honestly, I'm saying if we need a break, I want kitchen cam with
Kitchen cam Fran.
Kitchen cam Fran making a sandwich like for our snack break. If we're taking a break, I want Fran to take us to the kitchen.
It's not much of a break for him.
Yeah.
Got him.
Nope. All right, everybody. Well, we will see you on our individual channels tomorrow for the raid. Good luck if you're heading into the raid yourself. We'll be back next week talking about the raid and probably talking about the exotic class items, whatever the fudge is happening after that. And maybe some of us will get lucky and get the raid weapon. I hope it's a
that'd be nice.
finger. You know, because the witness does the finger slice. I hope it's a finger.
Like
Just snacking people with
Elden
giant
Ring.
fingers.
Like
Yeah,
a
yeah.
finger, like
I want a
fingy
finger.
sword.
A fingy
Just a
sword
big
that
old
that
fingy
has
sword.
a like a long range slicer.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like a
that's what I want.
caster. Like a finger caster. And
Yeah.
it casts mini fingers that spin around.
Yep. You heard it here first. That's what we're getting.
Yeah.
All right, everybody.
All right.
Thanks for
Bye-bye.
watching. Bye bye.
Laters.
Bye.